Okay. Can people hear us? Okay.
Did they say yes?
Sorry about the issues. It was their fault. All right. Yeah, sorry. I've done this before, but it was giving me some issues. So hopefully this works. And yeah, they're both back there. Enzo, Lotus.
Come here. Come here, Enzo. Come here. You say hi. Say hi.
They don't care.
No.
All right. I don't know when she's going to do vlogs. So it's probably not your screen. I basically have to do this through the webcam.
Enzo.
So if it is a little blurry, I am sorry. They should be better in the future, but this is the only way I could get it to work this time.
Yeah, because it's clear on our end. I wonder, is it blurry for everyone?
It's because I can't embed it or like encode it, I mean.
Oh.
So it's basically just running live.
Okay. Come here, Bubba. He said no, Mom. No, Mom. You tired already?
How old is so Enzo is
Enzo turned 3 in June, and then Lotus turned 1 in June. So they were born in the same month, like 20-ish days apart. I think Enzo was June 4th, and then Lotus was like June 24th.
Here, hold this. I'm gonna get my phone so we can keep along. Oh, yeah,
Okay.
sure, fine. I can use that so we can keep along with questions better.
What question were you on?
I don't know. I just saw that randomly.
Oh.
You might have to scroll up and see some others.
I'm trying to read through the questions now. Sorry.
And we got home like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, we like literally just got home. So we had like a million things to do today, and we were rushing home to get here in time. Yeah, everyone's saying it's blurry. Yeah, it's chilly here. Well, it's chilly to me. I'm always cold. 68 degrees is pretty nice. I don't know what it is here today, but it's lower than normal. So we went from like 99 degrees to the weather.
So hi, Zuma. Where did the pups go?
Guys, you need. Thank you. So we do get it a lot where like we go to the park and people will purposely avoid us. So like we'll be walking one direction and they'll be coming towards us, and they will literally just do a U-turn and walk the opposite direction because they're so afraid of, the German Shepherd. There's just like such a negative connotation with that. It used to bother me a lot more in the beginning, like when we just had Enzo. I just like had a hard time like not being emotional about it. But over time, I've kind of just become immune to it. And if we're ever in like a situation where someone's, afraid of them, and because we do walk them off leash at the park, and some people have issues with that, I just mostly try to educate them, on the fact that they've been through extensive training and, they do have a leash on technically because they have that e-collar on. And so it's gotten to the point where, I just mostly try to educate them and not get upset about it and not let it bother me. But it is really, really hard because there is definitely a negative connotation that kind of goes along with that breed. When you see them in the movies, they're military dogs or police dogs. And so it was tough in the beginning, but I'm immune to it now.
There's Raleigh. Actually, she's out here.
Oh, yeah. Did someone ask about her?
Yeah.
Yeah, she is going to get in trouble because she's not supposed to be out here. Raleigh. Oh, she's gonna run from me. Come here. Not you, Lotus. There she is. Say hi.
Are they easy to potty train?
What was the
Are
question?
German Shepherds easy to potty train? I think they're about the same as any dog, really.
You know, I don't think it's really that. I don't think that that's something that's like easier with a specific breed. I think that's all, you know, honestly about how you start that from day one. You know, German Shepherds are a smart breed, but honestly, I think no matter what dog that we would get, if it wasn't a German Shepherd, it would still be, you know, the same process. So,
Lotus, come here.
So Enzo was fully trained. So with Enzo, with him being our first one, we waited a little bit longer to put him through any type of training like that. So Enzo didn't even start training until he was almost a year old. I think he was like 11 months or may have even been a little over 11 months. And so it's an 8-week training program that we put ours through because we do like the highest one that they have for obedience training. And like some things that happened in between. So like we had skipped a couple weeks here and there and then kind of would jump back into it. So I would say by the time that he was, you know, a year and a half, probably less than a year and a half, he was fully trained. However, we spent a lot of time with him, like practicing that type of training to make sure that like he had it down. And like now, you know, you can ask him to pretty much do anything and he'll do it because we practiced that and kind of drilled it in his brain even after the training. That's all we did, you know, all day. And anytime that we would take him out in public is work on training. So I would say probably by about a year and a half with him. Lotus was kind of a different situation. He was fully trained. He was fully trained a little bit earlier because we knew that we were dealing with the reactiveness that he has. We actually started him training. I think he was 5.5 months? Yeah, he was like 5.5 months. So he was fully trained before he was a year. Now he, you know, we still deal with the reactive part of it. So, you know, is he really fully trained? Obedient wise, yes, he's fully trained and has been. He was under a year. Yeah. What you got there, Bubba? Your favorite? We're both of Enzo's parents. Yeah. So the mom, when we actually got to meet Enzo's mom, we never got to meet the dad when we went because they had bred her with like someone else that lived, you know, nearby or whatever. So but we actually got to see her. She was larger than he is. So when we walked in, she was bigger than him. She was taller for sure, taller, but maybe not weight wise. I don't know, because he's about 110, 112. But she came up to my rib cage, and I'm about 5'1". So she was like, when she approached you, you were like, oh my gosh, and like not being exposed to that. So yeah, both of his parents were pretty large. Lotus's parents were not very large at all, like maybe in that 60 to 70 pound range, and Lotus is about 75 pounds. But when you put him next to Enzo, he doesn't look 75 pounds. He looks tiny, like a little baby. But yeah, so both of Enzo's parents were big. Lotus's parents were not. We knew that when we got Lotus that he would be smaller than Enzo. We were fine with that.
I don't know how many grams we feed him, but we feed him about 6 US cups.
Did someone ask that?
Yeah.
6 cups a day is about what they get fed. Whoever asked that question. Yeah, we don't know what the conversion is on that, but they get 6 US cups a day. And when Enzo was a puppy at like his peak growing time, he would eat anywhere between 10 and 12 cups a day. So Enzo's always kind of eaten a lot, but he's not overweight or anything. So it just kind of how he did it.
Somebody said you're a better handler than you are.
Oh my gosh, there's so many questions. I like can't even. Okay, energy. How do we get the energy out? And this is from, I think I read a little bit earlier, Switch Universe. You're the 11-year-old that's trying to convince your parents to get a German Shepherd, which is awesome. We definitely recommend getting German Shepherds, obviously. How do we get the energy out? If it's like a day like this where, you know, it's not very super hot out or anything like that, we take them to the park. They usually go twice a day. That's just like the standard thing. And when they go, we do about 3 to 4 laps, which equates to about a mile. And if we don't do that many laps, then we throw the ball for them, and that gets like a ton of their energy out. Other ways that we can get their energy out, like if it's raining outside, which it kind of looks like it might do tonight, is we do like things that would mentally stimulate them. Like we will take one of their toys and hide it and say find, and they know that that means that they need to find something, and so they will. It's like a hide and seek game almost. Or, you know, I will stay in one room with them, and my husband will go hide, and then we'll say find, and then it's just so mentally stimulating for them that literally 10 or 15 minutes of that, they're completely wiped out. So there's different ways that you can get energy out. Like right now, they're just running around in the backyard because we're out here and they have all their toys out here and they're running around and being crazy and wrestling. That's another way to get the energy out. So if you have the yard for it, you know, that's always a good option.
No, not really considered a raw diet.
No, we have never. That's just not been something that we've ever considered, the raw diet thing. I know a lot of people do that, and I absolutely do not have anything against it by any means. It's just not a choice that we made from the beginning. And they're so weird when you like switch their diet like that. It's really not good to do that. Like if what you have going is working, like it really should just be that way. And so that's just not anything that we've ever considered. And I don't see us doing that in the future unless there was like a very serious reason for us to do that.
Our cleaning schedule is constant.
Someone asked about the cleaning schedule.
Dirt and hair.
Yeah. So we actually clean our house once a week at least, like where everything gets cleaned in the house. And that's just always been that way for me. And then on top of that, Roomba, our robot vacuum, he runs at least twice. I would say he always runs once a day, period. Like that is never an option to not run. And then usually like when I get home after work, I will be like, these floors are a hot mess, and I will run him again before we go to bed. So Roomba has been a lifesaver. We would not be able to function here without Roomba. But downstairs, which is like the garage area. So yeah, it's hard to keep up with the shedding.
We clean their teeth with beef shank, I think. That's what it is.
Yeah, but the antler.
Oh, an antler.
The antler works best. Like if you buy deer antlers, they're kind of expensive. You can really, I mean, like you can get them off of Amazon, no big deal. We just buy them locally, like at a shop that's here. And they're kind of expensive, but it keeps their teeth insanely clean. Like it's ridiculous. Like Lotus's teeth are probably wider than like my teeth. Probably not, but he has zero tartar or anything like on his gums, which we didn't do that in the beginning with Enzo. So Enzo still has like that kind of buildup a little bit around his gums. But now that we're using antler with him, we really started that when we got Lotus because that was a thing that he liked. His are so much better than I ever imagined that they would be. So deer antler is the way to go for cleaning teeth.
Supplements are 6 months, but ask your vet.
Yeah, when we start, and we've already asked our vet that, but I mean, you know, if you wanted to ask your own vet about the supplements, they'll more than likely tell you at 6 months you can do that. I wish that we would have started that earlier with Enzo because
we started it. Enzo was like already like a year or something.
Yeah.
I think Tim told us about it.
Yeah, I wish that we would have started it much earlier with Enzo because he actually does have one of his elbows. He has some issues there that were caused by just like overextending and stuff when we were exercising. We just didn't know when we got him. You know, you research and find out lots of stuff, but like that was never something that we had ever read about. Yeah, and he weighs a lot more than Lotus. So I wish we would have started them earlier with Enzo. Lotus has always been on them from 6 months till now. I mean, and they will both always continue to be on them.
I don't think it shows. Lotus may be
I need a charger.
Below average, but Enzo is way above average size-wise.
Yeah, so like if you look up like how big male German Shepherds should be, you know, like standard or whatever. Males, I think it says on there, like if you look up the chart, like 75, 80 pounds. Well, Enzo's 110. He doesn't look fat to me. He doesn't look like he needs to lose weight. So Enzo is definitely above average on that scale.
But I mean, his mom was like 80 pounds.
Yeah, Lotus is right there where he is supposed to be. So the typical German Shepherd size should be Lotus's size. Enzo is just above average in that area.
They're good with children as long as their temperament, everything's fine. Somebody asked about children.
Oh, about kids, yeah. You know, and we don't have any kids, so it's so hard to know, like yeah, but like I have a younger sister. She's 20 years younger than I am, and they are obsessed with her. So, but it's more about if that's something that, you know, if you're going to be around kids a lot or you want them to be okay with kids, you need to introduce that from day one that you bring them home. I mean, very, very quickly, you need to socialize them around whatever age you want them to be around. Because even sometimes Enzo gets a little bit weird around like older people. Like my grandpa, sometimes he's like, doesn't really, like, he's not mean or anything. He just kind of avoids them. So whatever you want them to be okay with, you need to expose them to that from a very, very early age. If you want them to walk off leash, introduce that at a very, very young age. If you want them to be in public and go to Lowe's with you or drive in the car with you frequently, do it from that very first time that you bring them home. That's just something that they need to, you know, you need to be implementing from really day one if you want them to be okay with it. Because if you keep them away from something and then you introduce them to something that is foreign to them, you know, it's just one of those things where, you know, they don't like change like that. So, I mean, my recommendation for anything, you know, that you want them to be okay with is to do it from the very beginning if you can. And you can do it from a later age. It's just easier if you do it right from the get-go.
How often do we use antler? As much as Lotus will allow us.
As much as we can afford it. Lotus goes through his antlers really quickly. So we monitor, and he like, it'll be like sometimes at night if we give it to him or something, it's been like an hour. I'm like, we need to take it away. Like, you've had enough of antler, like, because he will, if you let him chew on it just all the time and free chew on it, like if you just left that out as a toy, it would be gone in a day. So what we do is, it's more of like a special thing for them, is we have like a cabinet in our kitchen that we keep them in. We get it out. Okay, it's antler time. We take them to wherever we're going to be and say, okay, here's your antler. And we let them play for 20 or 30 minutes with it, chew on it for 20 or 30 minutes. And then we take it back and we put it in the cabinet. So it's not something that you want to just leave out. It really does need to kind of be, that's something that really needs to be monitored.
When did they fall asleep and wake up?
They fall asleep when we go to sleep. So, you know, for us, we have a fairly early bedtime. Usually around, I would say 9:30, we're sleeping and they go to sleep. No problem whenever we do. And then they get up in the morning. When Will gets up, don't even start barking. You're about to see some reactiveness here because the neighbors are out. See if he keeps it together. Well, that's a good boy. That's a good boy. I know, that's a good boy.
Is he growling at the neighbors, or is he growling at himself on the screen?
He may have been growling at himself on the screen. He does that. And then Will gets up at roughly 4 o'clock in the morning. They get up with him, and then I sleep until my alarm goes off. So they go to bed and get up whenever we do.
That's one bonded with one or the other.
Yes. Well, Lotus is like a super, super mama's boy. Like, does not leave my side. Like, if I'm upstairs and like I'm not feeling well and I get in bed or something, he'll be up there with me. He does not care that Will and Enzo are downstairs or outside. He just wants to be with me all the time. Now, before we got Lotus, I would have said that Enzo was also a mama's boy. However, I don't know. Do you think he favors you more?
I think he worries about what I'm doing.
Gosh, it's so hard with Enzo. I think he favors me more. I honestly do. However, if I leave the house, Enzo does not have a meltdown. If Will leaves the house and I'm still here, Enzo has a meltdown. So it really just depends on the situation with him. Is he still chewing on stick?
Yeah. Well, he stopped for a
This one's a good question. How do you go about properly socializing a GSD puppy from day one? So, like most of you that follow our story know that Lotus is reactive to other dogs. However, when we brought Lotus home, our neighbors down the street, like maybe a week or two later, they decided that they also wanted a German Shepherd, so they got one. Well, as soon as they got their German Shepherd, we would take Lotus down there. His name's Charlie. He's adorable too. We would take Lotus down there and let Lotus and Charlie play since they were the same age, and we knew that both of them were vaccinated properly. We knew they wouldn't be switching around any, crazy sicknesses or anything. So Lotus and Charlie can still play now. Lotus is not reactive to Charlie, but Lotus is reactive to every single other dog. So my point is that if you introduce them and socialize them from a very young age with other, dogs and other humans.
Charlie at first, like he was crazy at Charlie too. And
then for like 5 seconds. Yeah. If you do it from an early age, you'll have no issue socializing. But here's the thing. If you keep them locked up in the house for that first, however, 16 weeks or whatever, and then you try to go out and socialize them, it's going to be much harder the longer that you wait. So I always say just like from day one, whatever you want them to be okay with, you need to introduce that type of stuff from day one. And it was the same thing. Like we have Rally, we have the cat. We didn't hide the fact that we had a cat. Like when we got here with him on day one, she was downstairs and we introduced them at that point in time and they're perfectly fine. So just whatever you want them to be socialized with, you need to do that from day one. Yeah. Yeah, for some reason Enzo is weird about older people. He's like he doesn't growl or bark or anything. Yeah, my grandpa is he's weird. He just avoids for some reason. He's just like, no, thanks. Let's see. How many walks do you bring Enzo and Lotus on a day? So they go to the park twice a day, Marissa. Typically twice a day. We don't really do like walks with them because I don't know that would like get the proper amount of energy out for them. Yeah, it would have to be like a very, very long walk. Like
we go to the park and we walk.
Yeah, we go to the park, but like then they running out in the field and let me go sniff this and smell this. But we exercise them. That's kind of how I would say ours. We exercise them at least twice a day. It says my connection is unstable.
Yeah, I bet. Our Wi-Fi is not keeping up. It's looking maybe a little better now.
Okay.
No, maybe not. You can ask them.
Can you guys still hear me? Our connection is just not happy. Okay, perfect. Thanks. Okay, so we don't trim their nails.
Yeah.
No,
my cousin does that.
We tried that. So Enzo's nails are like ridiculously thick, and I actually purchased like a tool off of Amazon that said like this is the best thing ever and like this works on every type of nail and like all of this crazy stuff, and no, it didn't work. So Lotuses, I probably, if I really wanted to, could trim them myself. I just don't want to. And they have like that vein that runs down their nail, and if you get them too short, it'll bleed, and it's really hard to keep that from bleeding, and then it's like really, really painful for them. So we actually do not clip their nails. We take them to a professional and we have them do that. Now I do shave their butts, and that's the only part that you can shave on them and not mess up their fur. Like you don't shave any other or cut any hair on any other part of their body, but their butt, the back of it gets like kind of fluffy. And so I do shave that, and that that was something that I did from a very young age, and they're just accustomed to it. So they just let me do it. It's not a big deal.
Same with wiping their paws. We start that early.
Let's see. What our daughter.
Yes, we can definitely do more hiking videos.
Yeah, and they love the hiking.
Like multiple times a week. I just don't record it.
Yeah, you guys went this week, didn't you?
Yeah, it was on Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah, we love hiking. They have like a really cool park around here where there's like you never have to go like the same way. So that's pretty cool. So Kendall, so we brought our daughter to meet our puppy and the puppy's parents a couple weeks ago, and our puppy and daughter bonded from the beginning. That's really good. I'm wondering how protective they are. Very, but like not, I don't know how to explain it. Like if someone knocks on our door or rings the doorbell, you would think that the person on the other side of that door is about to die. Like that's how crazy they are. But like if you open the door and you explain to that person, like they're very gentle, you know what I mean? Can they just come out and then they go out, they sniff, they're good. Like they don't go out the door like, oh, I'm gonna attack this person because I'm protective of my house and my people. But like I don't know, like that's such a hard
people to not come around.
Yeah.
But there's a different bark too, and I've never got Enzo's. You need a backup.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they are protective, but like we've never run into a situation where they're trying to protect the house or protect us and they've like been aggressive towards anyone. Like that's not the type of protection, but like they are going to let you know, hey, there's 2 German Shepherds behind this front door. And if you're going to be an issue, like you just know what you're getting into. It's like that type of thing. But like if I open that door and I let them out, even if they don't know the person, it's not like they're going to go and attack them. Now you can train them to do that if you want them to be that protective. That's just not something that we do. Oh, like when her friends come over? No, I don't think that's Kendall. I don't think that's going to be, we have people that come over to our house for Thanksgiving that the dogs don't even know. Yeah. And they'll bark, like if someone knocks on the door, they'll bark at them, we'll let them in and they come in, nothing. Yeah. Like they just want to like lick and get pet and like, no big deal. I do not think that that's going to be an issue when her friends come over. Not at all.
Wait till you guys see the Thanksgiving video. We'll have like 20 people at the house.
Yeah, we have a lot of people over and they're just like, whatever. Even Lotus with his like reactiveness and like weirdness towards people that he doesn't know. We had like 20 or 30 people over this past Thanksgiving.
Yeah, when
he was like the most docile that I had ever seen him. Like you were just laying around, sleeping, like no big deal at all. I was completely shocked because that was like way before we even started working on the reactive part, of his training with him. So once they know that you've let that person in the house and you're okay with that person and your body language is showing that like they're fine.
Has to like you can't have somebody come in your house and ignore them.
Yeah, like we've had like the gas and electric person wanted to come in and to check the meter or whatever, and he wouldn't make eye contact with Enzo. And Enzo's like, no, that's not the way this is going to work out. And Enzo was not having it.
That's one of the 3 instances of his mean bark.
Yeah, and he barked at the guy, and it was like his actual serious bark. Like, you're going to let me, approach you and smell you, and like you're going to pet me, or you're not going to be in our house. Oh, there's Rally.
Found her in the backyard.
So, I think if the person that comes into your house is fearful and like is afraid or is crying or you know what I mean, like I think that the dog is going to be like, wait, what's going on here? And that you might see a different side to the dog, when that type of thing happens. But I mean, if they come in and they're friendly with them and they let the dog smell them, lick them or whatever, I don't see there being any issues at all. We haven't island life. I'm looking at your question. Do you like working line German Shepherds? Yeah, it's just not something that we've ever, like researched. I don't know like a whole lot about that whole thing.
Yeah, because somebody asked about showing them and like we have no desire.
Yeah, we don't do now Enzo is all he has to do is take his test to be a therapy dog. So he'll technically be like a working dog, in that sense. But like we not like anything crazy or anything like that. So, I mean, I have seen people that have working line German Shepherds. And I think that that's fantastic. Just not something that we've ever really looked into or researched. And I'm really honestly not probably educated enough on that topic to really talk about it.
Then even got sick badly. Enzo had like
Oh gosh,
diarrhea
Enzo.
one time, and that was a mess.
Enzo was sick a lot when he was younger.
I mean, not really. He got sick bad one time, is what it was.
He's been to med vet multiple times. Let's just put it that way. He had pano. He had panostitis in his one elbow that is still, not probably as good as it could be. And that was like a whole ordeal because we had to do x-rays, and to do x-rays, they have to be sedated. And then like the vet that we go to, she couldn't read the x-rays properly. Like there was like a little something on there that she was unsure about. So then she had to send him to med vet, to a specialist. And then we had to go have a meeting with him. And then med vet's like, well, you guys need to have surgery. And I was like, I don't know about that. I want a second opinion. So we went and got a second opinion. So, I mean, it was like this whole process. And we never wound up doing the surgery because the second opinion that we got on the whole situation with the elbow, his one elbow, was that, unless it's really affecting him day to day and he's not, clearly not in any pain, he was back to completely normal at that point in time, then there's really no reason to do the surgery.
That's why we're so restrictive of this
Yeah. So then like after that, it was very low impact exercise for him after that because we didn't want to make it any worse and we don't want to injure any other elbows or hips or anything. So that was like one time where he was like, I was very concerned about like what the outcome was going to be on that. And then one time he got really, really sick, like diarrhea and vomiting. And no matter what I did, I couldn't get him to stop. Like even just like doing like the plain cooked chicken, like boiled chicken and rice, which is like a huge recommendation usually when they have an upset belly, and it went on for like a couple of days to the point where I was like, we're going to have to go to med vet. Like he's not eating or drinking or going to
like IVs, I think.
Yeah. And they hooked him up to an IV and we had to go on like a special diet, like super bland, like Royal Canin something. I don't know. It was like prescription diet. And he had to be on that it was a couple weeks that he had to be on that.
But he was fine.
Then after that, he was good to go. Yeah. And everything went back to normal.
Like steam cleaned the carpet.
Yeah. And then he's fallen down the steps once or twice when he was little. So then we literally had the staircase in our basement removed and a new staircase built because he fell down the steps once.
And the contractor asked what our requirements was. I showed him Enzo. I said, Enzo can't fit through it.
Yeah, when the contractor came in to build the new staircase, he was like, what's the deal here? But like, okay, this is our German Shepherd. We need him to not be able to fit through the banisters. So that kind of stuff. But I mean, other than that, they're not really that sick, but we take really good care of them, and we monitor everything that they do. So it's not like they come outside and they're by themselves running around or doing anything. Like they're always monitored. So,
Yeah. Somebody asked how much we spend month to month. I don't know that answer, but I know med and the stairs was like $4,000.
How much do we spend month to month?
I mean, food alone is at least like $200 probably.
It's insane. It's really like
And then the vet bills when they come up, if you factor those in.
Yeah. It's not fun. That's like the only thing that's like really. Yeah, I mean their food alone, like our Chewy bill that we order, every 3 weeks?
It's usually sooner than that. And I have to order from multiple places because everybody always runs out of stock.
It's crazy. Yeah. But we don't have kids or anything crazy else that we have to like put money towards. So really it just all goes to them pretty much at this point. Oh, thanks, Kendall. I'm glad that I was able to help. Oh, is the dog out? So Lotus just reacted because 2 doors down from us has a dog, just a really cute little dog. Oh, is it 3? Yeah, 3 doors down has a dog. So if you heard him, he did like his reactive bark that he does. And then I don't know if you heard Will in the background, he got the command off and then it was done. So we're actually to a really good point, with being able to be out in public and deal with the reactiveness. However, I think my expectation was that like at some point in time, he would just be able to like be around other dogs like Enzo is. And And I think I've slowly realized that that's probably not going to be the case. And I think I've become, you know, a little bit more happy with just the fact that when he reacts, we're able to make him stop reacting.
He's always allowed one.
Yeah.
We don't want him to feel like he can't.
Yeah, we don't want him to. We don't want to take his voice away. We don't want him to feel like he can't like alert us or be like, "Hey, like I don't like this other dog." We always allow him to do it that one time, and then it's the off command from there. So, and he's, I mean, he's a million times better than he has ever been. So we're at a good point now. I think in the beginning, my expectation was that he would just be able to socialize with other dogs and it not be a big deal. But I don't think that that's going to be a place that we're going to get to. Like, I just don't think that that's the appropriate expectation for that.
Yeah. Tell Richard, yeah, I saw it. We do mental games as well for burning energy.
Yeah, we do mental games.
Like
hide and seek is the game that we play, but the like the command, I guess you could call it a command. They don't get like any stimulation if they don't do it, but the command that we use during that is find. So we hide something or hide one of ourselves, and then the other person will say find, and then they go and find whatever it is that they're supposed to be looking for. It creates like a mess in the house though. Like the amount of fur that comes off during that time, I'm not even sure like how that happens. Like my house is destroyed when we play it. Hold on, because I saw something up here.
Heartworm prevention. Somebody asked that. We do that. It's like every few months.
Heartworm prevention. We do it every month. We get it.
Is it every month?
Yeah, once a month. Which is easiest to work with, Enzo or Lotus? Enzo. So if you ever watch any of the videos and
depends though, like in a closed environment, Lotus is actually easier to work with like training and stuff.
No, Enzo. Enzo 100%. If you ever watch a video and we're out and Will says, which one do you want? You'll always hear me say Enzo. And he goes, of course. Because Enzo is the easiest one.
Yeah, I've gone downtown and I forgot his collar and stuff. And I was like, oh, well.
Yeah. Enzo, he's just like so, I don't know. Like he likes.
His personality is not.
Yeah, his demeanor is not the same. It's not like a normal German Shepherd demeanor. So like Lotus is more like the normal German Shepherd that you would see. And Enzo is just the exception to like the normal situation. And so I would always, hands down, I would say Enzo is easiest to deal with. Did Enzo or Lotus bite someone? No, they have never ever bitten another person. Nope, absolutely not.
No, I mean, like when you give them a treat as a puppy.
Yeah, like if you give them a treat, they might like, get your finger a little bit or something like that. But no, there has never been a situation where either of them, and that's not something that would be tolerated at all. Like that would be an immediate where we would get a hold of the trainer that we go to, which we absolutely love. And that would be a discussion with him about how do we go about, fixing the situation, or like, how do we go about handling the situation? That would be an immediate situation where we would get on that ASAP. But no, neither one of them have ever. Enzo would never, for sure. Lotus, I mean, I don't even know. I can't imagine either of them biting another person.
Both of them have been neutered.
Both have been neutered. Whoever asked that. Did Enzo and Lotus like the beach? They've never been to the beach before, Marissa. We want to so bad, but oh my gosh. Have you ever traveled with 2 German Shepherds before?
I took Enzo on an overnight to Tennessee.
I can't even like take care of myself and pack all the appropriate stuff for myself going on vacation. Like we took Enzo one time to visit some friends that live in Tennessee, and it's a lot. And it was just Enzo. I don't know that we could make it to. I want to go to the beach with them though. I just
we might go to like Lake Michigan or like Lake Erie or something maybe.
Yeah.
It's not quite the same, but they have e-collars, but they're not shock collars.
They're not shock collars. They are called e-collars. And it's basically a stimulation. So if you've ever been to the chiropractor, or any kind of like you've done any kind of like physical therapy for like an injury or something, they put those little sticky pads like on whatever's hurting, and they call it a TENS unit, and it sends like a stimulation that kind of like relaxes that muscle or that area. That feeling that you're getting through that TENS unit is the same type of feeling that comes through that. So it's not necessarily a shock collar. So he has it on his arm right now.
You can see like when I hit, like when you see the flash of
Yeah,
red, like
when the
and that's pretty high up.
Yeah. So it does not shock
attention.
them. It's mostly, hey, I want your attention. You need to look at me or pay attention to whatever command I'm giving you.
The same effect works if I like bang on something loud and get their attention.
Yeah.
Then they'll do whatever I say.
Doesn't. Yeah.
They just need to
Switch Universe. So I see. Do they like the cup games and stuff like that? We've done the cup games. We've never done really anything other than that. But yes, they are very intrigued by that type of thing. They're very like they love like the mental games. Like it just like stimulates them so much. Yeah, they love that type of stuff. So yeah, we do play the cup games.
Do they like snow? Yeah, there'll be some snow videos coming.
Oh my gosh, obsessed with snow. It's their favorite time. Snow.
I'll about my comment on another video, unless you've seen it already. I don't know. So the pups get a lot of comments, so you're gonna have to remind me on that one what it was exactly, Richard. Sorry. And I'm behind on a lot of the comments. I still spend like 15, 20 minutes a day answering YouTube comments. Why Lotus became reactive? No, it's fear-based.
That's something like if they're reactive from the research that we've done since we've had to deal with that situation, it's typically nothing that like you have done as an owner. Because like I would always be like, well, I'm just like wondering like what did we do wrong? And like after we had talked to our trainer about it, it could have been the situation that he was in before he came to us. So the breeder that we got him from, like however he was treated there by either the breeder or by the other puppies and the adult dogs that were there. That's something that could have triggered that. If not, then it's kind of just something that they're born with sometimes, like that, just the way that kind of their brain is wired. But it's not anything that we've done. His Lotus is specifically fear-based. So he that's the only way that he knows how to tell us like, hey, I don't like this situation. I'm afraid of what. And he's afraid of a lot of other things too, like storms. It's crazy how afraid of storms he is. If you even raise your voice, like he went to stay at my mom's for most of the day, him and Enzo did, because Will and I were in a wedding. And I had to make sure that I reminded her, you know, if they're doing something wrong, make sure that you don't raise your voice, because Lotus immediately, like his ears go down, like he just doesn't respond well to that because he's afraid. So Lotus specifically is fear-based.
That was Lotus.
Sneezing.
No, I don't know what he was doing. I don't know. We're not on our phone that much. I'm on my computer a lot. How are they with the Christmas tree? Fine.
Yeah, but again, that's something that we
don't mess around with.
Yeah, we don't let them.
Rally, on the other hand.
Yeah,
climb the tree.
The cat likes the tree. She likes the ornaments too. I mean, I can't blame her. That's just like a part of their nature.
We sat there and watched her walk up and smash one year.
Yeah, but the dogs, we don't allow them. Like if they get next to the tree, it's immediately a command of off. And then they know that they have to follow that command, and so then they just get away. And after you do that a couple times, then they just know, like, we just don't go by the tree.
But they still get Christmas presents done, right?
Yeah, they still get Christmas presents. The biggest challenge of owning two.
You've seen the videos.
We just did a video on like the pros and cons of having two, and obviously for me, I say that it's all pros. There's no cons. The biggest challenge of owning two.
I mean, like for me, like when you try to go somewhere by yourself too, it can be a lot.
Yeah, like if you're by yourself, which he does all the time, and if you've watched one of the videos where I think I vlogged during it or something, and I even say in that video how uncomfortable I am having two of them at the park without Will, because it's not something that I do every day. And especially with Lotus being the way that he is with the reactiveness, and how that is so unpredictable, it makes me uncomfortable, you know, having both of them without Will there. Now, Will does that a lot more than I do because he's home. You know, he works from home and that whole thing. So, but you're even saying that for you, it is much harder, Beb.
Well, yeah, I mean, having two is harder than having.
Yeah.
It's just more stuff to keep an eye on.
Yeah, it's a lot when you take them places. I will say that, and you know, it just packing up all the stuff that you have to take with you and keeping track of both of them, and then especially because both of them have their remotes, and so you have one in one hand, which is normal. It's facing the normal way. But the one in your left hand, it's actually the remote is flipped upside down, because if you don't, the buttons don't line up with your fingers correctly. So like if I have both of them at the park, I have both remotes, I have the backpack on, and then like if Lotus is the one stepping out of line and doing something I don't want him to do, I gotta, like, you mentally are like, okay, which remote, you know, it's just a lot to have both of them. With Enzo, it was so much easier. Yeah. Enzo doesn't really, I mean, he wears the collar when we go, but like you could really get by without him having his collar on because he listens so well.
How many times or hours a day should they go for walks?
We exercise them twice a day. That's what we do. Now, everyone is going to be different with that. And like, if you have a breed that
it doesn't happen if the weather is crazy.
Yeah, or if the weather's crazy, we don't do it twice a day. We'll do something inside with them or whatever.
This is their second exercise.
Yeah, but like they're out here now playing around. They're going to be so worn out because they've been. Yeah, he's going to attack him. So, and it depends on the breed too. Like if you have a breed that doesn't require a lot of stimulation and exercise, then you might only go once a day. But for us, German Shepherds, we always say like they build up the ants. You know, they got ants in their pants and they build them up very, very quickly. And so we, you know, as frequently as possible, they're out and about.
They haven't swam in, I don't know what your definition of a large pool would be, but they've done the baby pool. Enzo's been in creeks.
Yeah, Enzo's been in creeks. Lotus is not. But we do have a baby pool that we get out. Is that in one of the videos? That might be on your channel.
I think that was one that was on my channel.
Yeah. So we have a baby pool that we get out during the summer, and that was a leaf, not a stick, was it? Oh, I guess it was a stick. That we get out and they play in that. And they like it. We put like all their toy balls and stuff in there, and they have a good time with that.
No, actually, I think he actually He actually tried to steal Enzo's stick. Is what he tried to do.
Let's see, I'm scrolling down. Lotus just sneak kissed Enzo.
Yeah, I think that was when he was stealing a stick instead. Yeah.
The question about do German Shepherds like to swim? So that was one thing that like I wish that we would have done from a very young age with Enzo that we just didn't even think about. Because I think if we did that, he, especially Enzo, would like it a lot more. But yes, German Shepherds, I think like naturally do like to swim. However, if you don't introduce that to them until they're a little bit older, you're probably not going to get them to do it how you would think that you would be able to, because Enzo won't actually swim. Like if we take him to a creek, he'll go out until it's like up to his belly or like up to his chin. He won't actually paddle. It doesn't matter if you throw his favorite ball out there, nothing. He's like, nope, no thanks. That ball can go.
He did it by accident one time.
He can, but he does not like it because it's not something that we introduced from a young age.
How old were they when we got him?
Enzo, so the funny thing about Enzo is they called us. We were supposed to get him when he was 8 weeks, and they called us a week early. So he was only 7 weeks old, and they said, hey, can you come and get him? He's eating too much. So we actually got Enzo at 7 weeks. Lotus was 10 weeks old when we got him. How long do they exercise? That's a good question. Because yeah, and it really does depend. Like if we're throwing ball, like if our purpose of going to the park that day is we need to wear them out and we're throwing the ball with them, 15, 20 minutes. If we're going there to just leisurely walk and just have them kind of exercise, or we're going on a hike or something, it might be 30, 40 minutes, maybe even longer. I mean, sometimes when you guys go hiking, you're there for an hour. Yeah, so it really depends on what you're doing with them. You don't want to overextend them. Like you don't want to do like a lot of high impact stuff. So like when we throw a ball, that's considered high impact because when they're running to get it, they're bearing down on all of their joints very, very hard, or they're jumping in the air and coming down on their joints very, very hard. That's high impact. You don't want to do a lot of that. So like they don't get to do that every single day. They might get to do that, what, Beb? You think like once a week? Yeah. Maybe once a week.
It depends.
That's if everybody's in good shape too. Like sometimes Lotus might be limping that week, and then like we take a few weeks off from ball throwing.
We might go and like we'll throw a ball a few times a week, but it's usually only like 3 or 4.
Yeah, 3 or 4 throws or something like that.
But to actually like, go there for the purpose of throwing ball, yeah, 1 max.
Yeah, we don't do a lot of high impact stuff. Like if you're doing high impact, it needs to be a very short spurt of time. Because you don't want to overextend them or hurt their joints or anything like that because they're such a large breed. And then like once the joint situation like flares up, like that's something that doesn't ever go away. Like Enzo's elbow, from all that high impact stuff that we were doing with him when he was little that we didn't know any better, his elbow will always be like that, the way that it is.
I mean, it wasn't necessarily the most, but it could have been.
Yeah. So if you're doing high impact, I say very short spurt of time. If you're doing low impact, like hiking, you can be out there for an hour. It's not going to bother them at all. Let's see. If we're just going to the park to walk, we do like 3 or 4 laps. So how long does that take, babe?
Oh, how long?
Yeah, about 20, yeah, 25, 30 minutes. Yeah, and they're good after that. Yeah, so Gordon's honest opinion, he says regarding exercise, don't overwalk them in the first 18 months due to the hips still forming. Yeah, yes, you are absolutely correct. Yeah, when they're really young like that, like when we got Enzo, I can remember like when you guys used, yeah, they would get up in the morning, walk to the end of the that was all the exercise that Enzo needed. Like it didn't take much. And I mean, it's like how many, what do you think that's 100 yards to the end? That little corner piece there? Maybe 100 yards and back, and he was done. Like when they're really small like that, they're really young like that, you don't want to overwalk them or over exercise them. Yeah, because their joints and everything are still forming. It's not good for them. How old should you adopt a German Shepherd puppy? So, Abby Wolf, do you mean like?
You can adopt them at any age.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't matter how old they. Yeah, how old they are. I see German Shepherds all the time that are older, where like people got one and they didn't realize how much work it was going to be, and so then they try to find someone to adopt them, and they're older. It really wouldn't matter how old they are to adopt them.
Lotus, she's gonna mess you up.
Leave the cat alone.
And I'll go bother Enzo.
Yeah, Marion, do as much research as you can. That's what we did. We did a lot of research before we got Enzo. No, we haven't tried a bubble machine. I didn't even know that was an option.
I didn't either.
Dog training clubs? No, we have just only just gone to our trainer for like that 8 weeks. You know, that we paid for them to have training for. That's really the only training places that we've been to. How old should they be to go on a 40-minute hike?
Time, so
yeah, 40 minutes. That's a long.
At least 6 to 8 months at least.
I would say older than that. I would say definitely over a year, maybe even older.
Well, I mean, Lotus is just
they're still growing. They're still growing when they're 12 months old. You know, and like 18 months old, like they're still, their joints and everything are still trying to figure out, you know, what they're going to do. So for me, I would say at least a year, probably older for a 40-minute hike. Oh yeah, so Gordon says that he just adopted a 12-month-old. Yeah, so that's what I said, Abby. It really doesn't, they are when you adopt them. So the youngest that you're supposed to be able to get a puppy at is 8 weeks. That's the standard to make sure that they, you know, are able to get away from their mom and everything appropriately at that point in time. So 8 weeks is the standard. But like I said, when we got Enzo, he was eating like, he was not drinking milk from mom anymore. He was eating the regular food, and they called me like, hey, he's eating way too much food. Can you come and get him? So it, I guess, technically really depends on the situation. But 8 weeks is the standard. You really should not take a puppy before then, unless it would be like a situation like Enzo. Oh, I feel like it's raining.
I have to go inside.
So Gordon says that we should get a bubble machine because the dogs go crazy. I would have never thought about that.
I didn't know they made such a thing.
Yeah, we really should get one.
Lotus goes crazy. Lotus loves like laser pointer and stuff.
I'm going to carry you guys inside here because it's starting to rain where we are. What am I stuck on over there? Oh. You boys want to go inside? Oh, cool. Yeah, I would have more. If our house was bigger, I would definitely have more dogs.
If you want to sit on a couch or something.
Yeah, probably. What you think, Lotus? Do you see that pup up in there? Lotus, look. Who is that? They're a mess.
You guys have any, is Rally inside?
I haven't seen her.
No, she's not. Rally, come on. Come on. Go on. Go on. Go. No, go on. Thank you.
Any other questions that you guys can think of? I'm just going around picking up dog toys right now.
What?
Said I'm just picking up the dog toys. Yeah, I know. Yeah, the 7-week thing, I know, but like it really just depends on what the situation is. Oh, we're closing the garage, so you might hear a loud noise for a second here. I wouldn't worry about it, like as long as the vet approves it, or, you know, we didn't even, when we brought Enzo home a week early, we didn't like have that approved by the vet or anything. We just trusted what the breeder said, you know, like he's eating fine and, you know, in fact, eating too much food. So like we really, that wasn't something that we really were too concerned about. Yeah. So I would not worry about bringing home at 7 weeks old. I don't think that that's a big deal at all. We're in the basement, so it's kind of, the lighting down here is kind of weird.
Yeah, it's not going to be as bright.
Yeah. So I'm probably a little bit darker. Yeah, it's hard to believe that an hour has passed already. Yeah. That's convenient, Kendall. Yeah, a lot of people with the dog sleeping in the bed. So that's something that we started out not allowing. Really, when we got Enzo, he wasn't allowed on any furniture at all. No couch, no bed, nothing, period. Um, but as as time went on, I mean, I can tell you why I got a little bit more lenient with that, honestly. I'll be really honest with you guys. We had a cat that got extremely sick very suddenly. And we had to wind up putting her down, and she was like only 6 years old. Was Evo 6 or 7?
She wasn't 7.
She was 6 years old, and like literally was perfectly fine one day and the next deathly ill. And we had to put her to sleep. And through processing that situation, because we never let any pets on any furniture, I came to the realization that like I never like she wanted to sleep in bed. You know what I mean? Like she wanted to cuddle or whatever. And so I felt terrible because I'm like, what's the big deal? Like I should have just let her be in bed with me. Like after she was gone, like I felt so guilty about that. And like now I would give anything. I would just let her sleep with me. I wouldn't even really care. You just wash the covers. The covers aren't a big deal. And so I think it was really after that situation, after we had to put her to sleep, and Enzo was only what?
About 4 months.
Yeah, he was only like 4 months old when that had happened. Yeah, he's 3 or 4 months old when that had happened. I started to let him get in bed with us. But we never let him sleep in bed with us. We just let him get up if we were like watching TV or something like that. And so that's kind of how that started. And then it just became more and more lenient. And for me, it's just like, you know, and they don't sleep in bed with us every night. But now they do sometimes. Like if we put them up and it's time to go to sleep and they don't want to get down or they haven't gotten down yet, I will just leave them there and they usually get down at some point during the night. But that is one thing where I will say that we started out very, very strict on no pups sleeping in the bed, but have become a lot more lenient on that situation. Like I said, they don't sleep in bed with us every night. It's not something that we necessarily make a habit of. But for me, it's more of when they're gone, I'm going to wish that I just let them sleep in bed with me. And that's kind of how I think of it, just because of our other cat that we had. You know, I would give anything to just have her get in bed with me. So that kind of, I think, changed me on my thought process with that. I just like, it's just bed sheets. Like I can just wash them. It's not a big deal that there's hair on them. And we do put a cover down to protect our comforter from them laying on it. So like they have their own cover that goes on top of ours so that we don't, you know, we try to avoid as much fur as we can in there. Let's see. The best toy for an aggressive chewer.
Antler.
Yeah, I would say deer antler. Deer antler is like the real deal, and it cleans their teeth like nothing else. I would say deer antler for an aggressive chewer. But it needs to be monitored though. Like I wouldn't just like hand it to them and let them seriously and let them have it. Were you waiting? Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, your fur is wet. Did you get the wipe down?
Yeah, but we're out of towels because I had to throw a bunch away. Lay down. Don't worry about me. Worry about yourself.
See, and like we put covers on the couch too if we let them. This is our basement couch though, so it's not really that big of a deal. Let's see. How much time can you leave them? So we're actually really strict on how much time that we allow them to be at home by themselves. So, I mean, normal people can leave their dogs, you know, 7 or 8 hours or whatever, however long they're gone at work each day. We do not go any longer than 5. And that is mostly because I start to get anxiety about them being like, I don't like to be away from them that long. And I don't like them to think that like we're not coming back or something. So really 5 hours is the maximum that we'll ever go and feel comfortable with. And really at that 4-hour mark, usually what you say, I'm like, babe, we need to go. Like it's been 4 hours or whatever. So, but like a normal situation, you know, you can leave them for 7-8 hours. I don't recommend it. I don't think that they should be at home for that long by themselves without someone letting them out or feeding them, and ours are on a very strict, feeding schedule where oh, did you see yourself? No, we're not going to lick the computer. I thought he was going to bark because he saw himself. So that's just not something that we do. So we're probably a little bit more strict on that than most people are. Most people, I think, just, 7-8 hours is fine to leave your dog home, but we don't. So that's more of a personal thing for us, though. That does not saying anything about, people who do leave their dogs home for 7 or 8 hours. Those dogs are accustomed to that. Will works from home. So our dogs are not used to people being gone from them for that long of a period of time. They're used to someone always being with them. And so I don't like to leave them for very long. Let's see here. Oh, this person wants a shout out. How do you say that? Black
Red Dragon YouTube.
Yeah.
YT.
Let's see. Oh yes, Gordon's honest opinion. So I thought it was hard to sleep with Enzo in the bed, who weighs 110 pounds. You should try sleeping with 2 of them in the bed. It's impossible. You don't get any sleep. That's why Will sleeps just fine. That's why we don't let them do it every single night. It's more of a okay, we don't have to be up early the next day. It's not that big of a deal. And we just let them do it. It's not an every night situation, because if that was the case, I would never get any sleep. I would have to go sleep on the couch. Oh. Do Enzo and Lotus ever need to go potty in the middle of the night? No. When they were babies, yep. When you're working through the whole potty training stage, the rule is for every month that they are old, that's how many hours that you can wait to take them out. So if they're 2 months old, so if they're 8 weeks old, when you bring them home, they're 2 months old, they need to go out every 2 hours. If they're 4 months old, they need to go out every 4 hours. If they're 6 months old, every 6 hours. And you kind of build up to that. Once you get to, they're completely potty trained, and they can hold it for that long, it's, they can go all night. Okay, so Maria, they will just naturally sleep on their own. When you first bring them home, they're going to cry through the night. That's just kind of the reality of the situation. And you just have to be really consistent with, we do crate training. That was a personal choice. Not everybody does crate training, although I do highly recommend crate training. And so we would force ours to sleep in their crate at night. Now, in doing that, if they're not already accustomed to that, because at the breeder that you get them from, they don't do crate training, and most don't, they're going to cry through the entire night. And, with Enzo, it was probably a week before he didn't do that anymore. And we just didn't, for a week, we just didn't really sleep much because he cried all through the night, and we'd get up every so many hours and take him out to go potty. He went straight back in. But you have to be very consistent with it. And then once you get over that initial crying through the night because I don't understand what's going on, that'll go away, and they'll just naturally sleep on their own at night. It's not that big of a deal. Now with Enzo, we kept him in his crate at night in our bedroom. I think eventually we switched over to bedroom, or no? Was Enzo?
Enzo's ever was.
Maybe Enzo's was always in the living room. We stopped doing that at about, what you think, babe? 4 months?
Something like that.
Yeah, around 4 months. And so every night in your crate, go to sleep, and if we needed to take him out because he was, at that age of, he's only 3 months old, so he had to go out every 3 hours, even in the middle of the night, then that's just something that we would get up, take him out, back in the crate, go back to sleep. With Lotus, we only crate trained, I don't know. How long do you think Lotus was in his crate at night? A few months? Not. Maybe.
Probably not as long.
Not as long as Enzo was, for sure. But here's the thing: Lotus learns from Enzo. So Lotus picked up on the fact, okay, Enzo's sleeping in his bed, at nighttime when the TV goes off. So I'm going to go to my bed, lay down, go to sleep. So it was much easier because he learns that behavior from Enzo. So yeah, they're going to cry a lot at night. But once you get through that initial of, I don't know where I am, I'm crying because I don't like the crate. Once you get over through that initial hump of that, you're perfect. It'll be perfectly fine. Yeah, so I'm glad you waited until you're a stay-at-home mom to do that. A lot of people, I don't think, realize how, like, what a lifestyle change it is to just not even German Shepherd, but just to get, a puppy in general. And, we have that type of lifestyle where we can kind of adapt to like what their needs are and whatever they need. But a lot of people, they are working 12 hours a day and they get a puppy, and I'm like, I don't know that was such a great idea to do that. So I'm glad that you've waited until you're a stay-at-home mom and you guys are going to do that. That's so awesome. Oh, Marissa says, can you give my brother Patrick a shout out? Hey, Patrick. So we feed our 6 cups a day. I think someone asked that a little bit earlier. However, when they're growing, it's going to be different amounts. So usually on whatever food you buy, there's kind of like a feeding guide on there. We've always bought like top quality dog food for ours. It's just another personal decision. That's just something that we've always done. And so like at Enzo's peak, growing time, he was eating, 10 or 12 cups of food a day. And then like as he got older, he didn't need that much food because he wasn't growing anymore. And so then it kind of slowly cut back. So Enzo and Lotus both currently eat 6 cups a day. And that gets fed to them at four different meals a day. So we do 6 a.m., 12, 3, and then 6 again. So they have 4 meal times a day. It's so much better to spread their food out versus just feeding them once a day or even twice a day. Like I know you think like, well, morning, evening. But the more meals that you split that, however much you're going to give them, split that into as many meals as you can. It's just so much better for their digestive system and for like their weight control and stuff like that. It's just so much better for them to have those meals spaced out and for them to be more meals versus just 1 or 2 meals a day. Alex, what kind of food are you feeding?
Yeah, it should say on the package.
If you tell me what brand it is, I could probably look it up. Or on the back of the bag, it typically has it on there. 14 weeks is going to be like prime growing time. It'll also depend on how much that dog weighs. Like how big they are. That'll also depend on, because like our food chart on the back of when we got Enzo, like we were feeding him Royal Canin, German Shepherd, Royal Canin puppy. And it'll say on there like, okay, if they're this old and they weigh this much weight, they should have this many cups. And so it's like kind of like this flow chart that you follow to figure that out. So Alex, I would suggest looking on the back of the bag, or even if you Google, like if you throw in the bag away, just Google that brand and just put like food chart or whatever, feeding chart on there, and you'll probably get a more accurate answer than you're going to get from me, because it's really going to depend on what type of dog, what type of food, how much they weigh, how old they are, things like that. Crate training is a must. Yeah, I'm going to agree with that. That has always been a thing that we've always been for.
We didn't have an idea of their personality, but looking back, we did.
What other dog breeds would you guys consider getting? So I would like to have a Great Dane and what's the other one that I like? No, Golden Doodle too. They're adorable. We saw one last night. Saint Bernard. I would like to. So I'm like a large dog breed person. That's just like I've always kind of been like that. But I would love to have a Great Dane and a Saint Bernard. If we get another dog, which that would require us to have a larger house and a bigger yard.
For the record, these two require us to have a larger house.
Yeah, we really probably should have a bigger house and a bigger yard with both of them. But so if we get another one, I don't think that it'll be a German Shepherd. Maybe, I don't know, but like I just really kind of want I would really love to have a Great Dane or a Saint Bernard. So those are like my top choices. Malinois or GSD. I am a bigger fan of GSD.
I don't know that they really have a line.
Yeah, I don't know that they're like that type of. I don't know. I'm not educated enough to know if they would be like working or show, and that's like not something when we got them that we were really concerned with or asked about or anything like that.
You just liked them for some reason.
Yeah. Did you already have an idea about their personality when they were really young?
We didn't, but if you look back at their videos, it's obvious.
Yeah, not really. Like before we got them, no. I tend to pick my animals based upon how sad they look in the pictures. So like when Enzo's breeder sent me a picture of the ones that they had left, he was the saddest looking one. And so I was like, this is the one I have to have because he's so sad and he needs me. And it was kind of the same thing with Lotus. In his picture, like his ears are like back and down, which is very uncommon for a German Shepherd to do. Like usually they always have their ears up. And so, yeah.
That's Lotus.
That's Lotus's picture from the breeder. Oh my gosh. Like, how do you just not want to have him? So I was like, yep, he's the saddest one. And we intended on getting a female, but like I saw his picture and he was so sad and I knew that he needed me. So, and I'm, thankful that we were the ones that got him because with the way that he's reactive and all of the training that we've been through and the things that we've educated ourselves on for that specific thing, I don't know how many other people would have cared enough to work with him the way that he needs to be worked with. And so I really do feel like that was just like fate. Like that was just something that, like that was just meant to be. And so I'm ultimately super happy that we're the ones that ended up with him because I am very, very, it saddens me to think of, what situation he might be in if he weren't with us. I have some online if you want to go through.
Well, I meant like that first picture.
I know, Ian. Actually, so Great Danes are lovely, but so short-lived, and that's why that's not from the breeder.
Oh, it's not?
That's the first picture I took when he came home. That's why we don't have a Great Dane currently because they really only lived at like 6 or 7 years old, and so that makes me really sad. And I mean, I think larger breeds in general, they have a little bit of a shorter lifespan, but yes, Great Danes especially are very, very short. I know that's so sad to think about. Marissa, I've never heard of a Golden Shepherd. I'll have to Google that and look that up. Never heard of that. So Maria, any thoughts on between getting a female and a male? The next dog that we get is going to be a female, period. Like, we just need more girls in this house because it's only Rally and I. But I don't know like that we really ever had a preference. Like when we said like, oh, we're going to get a German Shepherd and we had made that decision, it wasn't, well, do you want a boy or a girl one? It was just like whatever one we wanted. So I don't know. And we only have boy German Shepherds. So I don't know that I know enough about like where I could say like, oh, females are, better tempered or something like that. I just like, I'm not educated enough to give you like a really good answer on that. I'm sorry. Don't worry. Yes, please, Kendall, very good information. Whoever asked that question that I missed it, please do, if you get a German Shepherd, do not cut or shave their hair. They have that double coat And so that the coat that they have, it regulates their body temperature in cool and in heat. So when it's really, really hot out, it regulates it to where the heat doesn't get in. And when it's really, really cold out, it keeps them warm enough. So do not ever, ever, ever shave or cut your German Shepherd's hair. That is a really big no-no, and it does not grow back the same way. So please do not, it regulates their body temperature. It's so important for them to have their original coat. Brush them. Like get the Furminator brush. We've talked about that in some of the videos. Brush them, to get the shedding to be, a little bit under control. But please do not ever shave or cut their hair. Yeah, Don, I know we're partial here.
Say a fence is a must,
but I mean, we don't have one teething, but how do you stop them if it's possible? If they're teething, what we did when ours went through like that teething stage and that chewing stage is always present them with a toy constantly. Like we just followed ours around and like stuck a toy in their mouth like constantly. And we had like little rubber toys, like Lotus's little. Can you get Lotus's little thing there?
Which one?
His little
little route.
Yeah, it was originally Enzo's. Constantly just present them with something to chew on, and they'll stop chewing on other things that they shouldn't be chewing on. So, come on, boys. Neither one of you caught that? This is one of the teething toys that we used, and this little thing I got off of Amazon before we. Yeah, they don't sell it anymore, but I'm sure they have things similar to this. It's really small, actually. You can see like how big my hand is and how big it is. I got this before we brought Enzo home, and it's lasted through Enzo and Lotus.
Because once they get a certain age, they ignore it.
Yeah, I mean, they don't really play with it anymore. It's rare that you see them play with it. We keep it in Lotus's crate, though, just in case.
Lotus wants it right now.
Oh, you need that? Oh, okay. He's like, what do you want me to do with this? Yeah, so just present them with lots of toys. So someone asked, I can't pronounce that name and I don't want to mispronounce it. Is a fence a must-have for a GSD? No, we do not have a fence on our entire backyard. Like it covers most of it, and then there's like an open spot in the back where they used to have like a shed or something there, and they just never fenced behind it. So we have like this huge gap in the back, and then like coming down our driveway, there's no fence there. So we do not have a fence around our entire backyard, and we don't have a fence in the front yard. So I would say absolutely not a must-have. But if you're not going to have a fence and you want them to be able to kind of just go out and hang out like we do with ours, they need to be trained. So that would be like a training thing that you would need to work on with them.
We don't leave them out there alone.
Gordon disagreed with me. He said must for any dog. Yeah, and it really is like a personal preference thing. And maybe just because ours are so trained that we don't really have to worry about having a fence. But like if you're not going to go through like the crazy training that we would go through, yeah. I mean, really, if you have any dog, you really should have a fenced-in backyard. It's just never been like a concern for us. That's more probably a personal thing though. I do not have any experience with German Shepherds being around farm animals. I actually would love to live on a farm and have farm animals, so I could see myself having to deal with that in the future. But I don't have any experience with that. I've seen some funny videos on like Facebook and Instagram of German Shepherds with farm animals. Again, that's one of those things where if it's introduced super early, like if you want them to be okay with like the chickens and the ducks and the cows and stuff, then you probably need to take them out there and introduce them at a very young age. And they'll just think it's like any other animal. They're like, oh, this is another dog. It's not a big deal. So if it's socialized properly with them in the beginning, you'll be fine. You won't have any issues. Dawn, I definitely will not be getting a golden shepherd then. We do not have $2,000 to do that. So that's probably not going to be an option for us. Oh my goodness. Yeah, we have Kong toys. Yep. Yep. We have the red ones that look like a beehive and we put peanut butter or snacks in there for them. Yep, we have the Kong toys. They love those. Yep. Yeah, I agree with you, Don. So the training that you put into them is what you get out of them. If there's no training, then that's what you'll get from them. Absolutely. So German Shepherds are one of those breeds where in the very beginning, you need to establish that you're pack leader. So, for example, when we first got Enzo and we would walk outside to go to the bathroom, I would not allow him to walk out in front of me. I'm the pack leader. I'm the one in charge. You will follow me. And so that was something that we were very consistent with when we got him because we wanted him to realize like you're not the one that controls things here. So if you don't establish that relationship from the beginning that you are the one in charge and you are the pack leader, not the dog, then like Don says, like that's kind of what you're going to get out of them. You don't put any training in, then you're going to have a dog that controls your household and controls your life. And that's kind of what you're going to be stuck dealing with. So, you know, Lotus is not pack leader. Look at Enzo back there. Bubba? Goodness sakes. Are you tired? Did you fall asleep? Yeah. Yep. Don, you're absolutely correct. Daily training, even for 10 minutes a day. That is something like no matter what we're doing that day, if we go to the park, it's always some sort of training of, you know, whatever. If it's a heel for 5 minutes, they're in a heel for 5 minutes, or let's heel around these pillars, or let's do sitting down, or, you know, sit and wait. Like, yeah, getting them in and out of the FJ. We use commands for that. Like if you should be implementing training into everything that you do with them. Yeah, and even if it's 10 or 15 minutes a day, absolutely. Where did you get your German Shepherd? So, Enzo came from a place
west of Toledo, Ohio, like way west, like
yeah,
very close to Indiana.
West of Toledo. Antwerp, Ohio. I just remembered. That's what the place is called. That's the city, that Antwerp, Ohio. And the place that we got him from was called Von Schmidt's German Shepherds. Can you type that in there maybe? Yeah, they're not, but I don't think that they're breeding anymore because when we went to get Lotus, I was continuously like kind of monitoring their website. And I think Enzo's like when they had him, I think that was like one of the last litters that they had that I've seen them do. So I don't know if they're taking a break from that, or maybe they were a little bit older, the breeders were, and they'd been doing it for like 20 or 30 years or something. And so maybe they just decided to kind of retire or whatnot. But, and then Lotus just came from a breeder. Where did we go to get Lotus?
Canton, Ohio.
Yeah, Canton, Ohio. But I would never like because of the fact that we got Lotus from there and Lotus is reactive and I don't know the situation that Lotus was in before we got him, I would never recommend that breeder to anyone because I just don't know what the situation is there and I wouldn't want anyone to have to deal with that. Let's see here. How much is dog training roughly? The package that we did, which was the highest obedience package, was around like 800 when we did it for Enzo, and then it was closer to 900 when we did it with Lotus, which was like 2 years later or something like that. You can do so we do the highest obedience one. There's a step down from that, which was like just basic obedience, which is like 400 and something like that. So it's not too terribly expensive, 100% worth it. I just like, I can't imagine not doing that. Like
4 or 8 hours long.
Yeah.
It's real short.
Yeah. I mean, it's not really, you know, it's not a huge time commitment. So you do like the ones that we did were like 8 sessions, and they're 8 1-hour sessions. So I mean, really, you're only putting in 8 hours with a trainer, but 100% worth it. We would never have a dog and not do it. There's just no way. Even with all of the things that we know and how well we've trained ours, you would think like, oh, well, you can just buy the collar and do it on your own. We would still never do that. Like we absolutely 100% will pay the $800 or $900, and every time we get a dog, that will just be something that is, it's just the standard.
You should probably go get a drink. Get drinky.
Yeah, we paid a lot for ours too. Lotus was a little bit more expensive than Enzo, but yeah, they were fairly expensive. Yeah, Ian, I agree when they did the head tilt. I know. And like it's just because they're so empathetic. Like when we have like researched and we are always trying to educate ourselves on, that type of stuff. It's just, but they do that because they're trying to empathize with what you're saying or what you want them to do. So that's why they do the head tilt. Yeah, Donnie does. Yeah, Enzo's always listening.
Yeah, he never sleeps.
So one of the most recent questions, do you think this breed could be happy living in an apartment in the city? It depends on how big the apartment is. And like how much you would be taking them like out to the park or outside or whatever I don't know what city you live in. But I mean, they're a pretty big breed. So unless the apartment is super large, and you're going to be taking them out frequently, I don't know if that is something, and that's more of just a personal thing for me.
Let's put it this way. If we went back in time, we wouldn't get him with an apartment. But if we had to move him to an apartment today, we'd keep him, obviously.
Yeah. So if you didn't hear him,
We can make it work.
yeah, if something crazy happened and we had to move into an apartment today, obviously we're not going to get rid of them. That's just not going to happen. But if we went back in time and we were living in an apartment, we would never get a German Shepherd in an apartment. There's just no way.
It's just not as fun for them.
Yeah. It's just,
I mean, they like to go outside.
they like to go outside. Yeah,
and
they like to go check the mail. You know what I mean? Like they like, going and doing, and they really do need a lot of space. And honestly, like my husband said earlier, like we really should have probably a bigger house with just the 2 that we have. And we live in a house, you know what I mean? They just need a lot of space. They require a lot of space. They have a lot of things. They got their crate and their toy bins and, their cots that they lay on, their beds, and they need room. And if it's really cramped and stuff, it's not an ideal situation for them. We will not be breeding Enzo or Lotus. They are both fixed. That's just not ever something that we wanted to do. So no. Yeah. And then, yeah, we just never wanted to do that. Are you sleepy, Lotus? What's that pup?
He watches TV.
Yeah, he does. He likes to watch TV. Who's that pup? Yeah, you can see all our food bins over there. Yep. And one of the Roombas. Enzo. Your eyes, they tell me you're very, very tired. You tired, buddy?
Lotus is very vocal. Enzo can be, but generally not. unless he's getting groomed and he's not happy about it.
They're calm now because we, for the last hour, were outside and they were running around. So they got the energy out. And they'll be good for the rest of the night. Like we'll be able to kind of just go upstairs and relax and watch TV or whatnot. And they will sleep, or nap or whatever pretty much the whole time. And then when we go to bed, they'll sleep through the night. So like they're done for the day.
Was she done?
Yeah, they're vocal. They're I don't know if you have a German Shepherd or not, but it's just a very vocal breed in general. I would say Lotus. I thought Enzo was like super vocal, but then we got Lotus and I realized that it could be worse. So Lotus is really, really vocal about everything. Even when he's sleeping, he's like moaning and he's constantly making noise. Enzo is vocal when he wants something or he's unhappy with something. So, if he wants to go to the park and he knows that we're like packing up to leave, he'll whine the whole time. That's pretty normal. Or if Will has them all packed up in the car to leave and then Will's got to get out of the car for some reason to come back into the house because he forgot something, Enzo will bark the whole time. He's unhappy with that situation. Or like if he goes to the groomer or something to get his nails clipped or was butt shaved or whatever, he's vocal there usually. So if he's not happy with something, he is vocal, or if he's ready to do something, he's vocal. But other than that, not much. Marissa, I would say yes. Assuming that they were introduced from the time that the German Shepherd was a baby. I have probably said it I feel like I've said it like 12 times now.
Right.
Like it's all about when you get them and they're a baby, whatever you want them to be okay with, you introduce them to that at that point in time. It's from day one. So like when we brought Lotus home, we did not hide the fact that we had a cat from him. Like they literally met as soon as we walked in the door. And Lotus is now okay with that. So, they just have to be introduced and socialized from a very young age if that's something that you want them to be okay with.
But really, just anything, just time.
Yeah, and as time goes on, it gets better and better and better. Like when we brought Lotus home and introduced him to the cat, all he wanted to do was chase the cat.
And she'd whack the crap out.
Yeah, and then she would do the whole swipey thing, and he'd be like, "Oh, what the heck?" So, and as time went on, though, he realized oh, this is my, this is my brother or my sister. Like, this is, another dog or another cat. Like, it's not a big deal. I don't need to chase her, and even sometimes now he'll get a wild hair and he'll want to chase her around the house or something. And she's fine with it. She knows they're playing. But yeah, I don't think that there would be any issue with you having two cats and another dog and also having a German Shepherd. I don't, if they're socialized correctly and you introduce them correctly, I don't see that would be any issue at all. Solid black is cool. I don't see those as often. I don't really see solid black or solid white German Shepherds very often. So that's a really good question, Maria. We bathe ours maybe twice a year. Maybe. It's not good to bathe them that often.
They get wiped out.
But you have to keep up with their hygiene if you're not, you know what I mean? Because it's not good for their coat or and they have very oily, their coat is very coarse and oily. And those oils are seriously. Those oils, they need those oils on their skin. So to keep up with their hygiene, when they come home from the park, no matter if it's rain, snow, completely dry, summertime, sunny, whatever, when they come home from the park or going for a walk or wherever we've gone to Lowe's that day or whatever, we have terry cloth towels. And we just get a little bucket of water and we put in just a tiny, tiny bit of their soap that we use. and like, mix it around, put the terry cloth in there, wring out all the water, and they get a wipe down like around their face, down their back. We get their paws really, really well because if they've been out and walking, we don't want all that stuff to travel into the house. And usually we get the underneath of them, like their bellies and like their groin area. So we do that every time that we take them somewhere. Like when we just came in from being outside earlier, you didn't see it because Will did it, but they got a wipe down and they were just literally in our backyard. So that's how you keep up with hygiene. In addition to that, you can keep up with their hygiene really, really well by brushing them a couple times a week. I suggest once a day. That's just not realistic for most people.
We don't do it.
Yeah, we don't do once a day because again, it's not just real. It's just not something that's realistic. But a couple times a week, if you brush them for just like 10 or 15 minutes, that keeps up with their hygiene really well and keeps them from like not stinking. And then I would bathe them twice a year. We bathe them at Thanksgiving time because we have family over and we host Thanksgiving here at our house. So we bathe them, we have them bathed, or we take them really, and we do it ourselves at a place where like you can do it, but they supply everything. We do that at like the day before Thanksgiving, and then I don't know when then we usually do it like in the springtime. We do it like maybe one other time a year. But if you do, like, you need to keep up with their hygiene though, because if not, they'll start to stink. Yeah.
Like when we took Enzo in the creek.
Yeah, like if Enzo, when we would take Enzo like to the creek to play around in the creek, he would get a bath after that. That's just kind of how that goes down because you don't know what's in the creek or what they have brought home with them or anything like that. So like if they're out doing that kind of stuff, yeah, they need to be bathed. But it's really not good to bathe them very often. Yeah, so lovely 28. How old is your German Shepherd? Is it a baby or is it an adult? 2 years old. Yeah. It's so that's one of those things where I always come back to it's going to be harder now that they're a little bit older because 2 years they've kind of got into this mindset of I need to be nervous and afraid around others. I'm going to tell you how to battle that situation. And it's going to sound like the completely opposite thing of what you want to do and what you want to hear and what your German Shepherd wants to do. You need to put them around people. So, in a controlled environment, and
Lotus near the dog park.
Yeah, like with Lotus, he's so reactive. I know, and it's like not what you want to hear. I know it's not what you want to hear because it's hard to do that. Like you see that the dog is nervous, you see that they're anxious, they're upset, they don't want to be socialized around other people, they're uncomfortable. And I know that's the last thing that you want to do, but the only way to fix it is to do it. And it needs to be a consistent doing it over and over again in a controlled environment. And it's going to be uncomfortable for a very long time until your German Shepherd gets over the fact, I don't need to be nervous. I don't need to be scared. I don't need to be anxious. So like with Lotus, one of the things that we do with him, and I don't know how much you follow kind of his story, but he is extremely reactive to other dogs. So what do we make him do? We take him to the dog park and we walk him around the perimeter of the dog park. And he's very uncomfortable the entire time. But he doesn't really react when we do that. He's not barking, he's not growling, he's not doing anything else. We're forcing him to be in a very uncomfortable situation. But the more that you avoid that situation, the more you're reinforcing the fact that he should be anxious and he should be scared and, afraid to be around new people. So by you not putting him in that situation and forcing him to kind of overcome that, you're reinforcing the behavior of, scared, nervous. I know it's tough. That's such a tough one. And it's so much easier when they're little. I mean, yours is 2 years old, so that's going to be a lot more harder than if the puppy was, 8 weeks old or,
8 months old or something. It's a lot easier when they're little because it's not so ingrained in their brain that they need to think that way. But yeah, you'll have to get out there and do it. I know it's tough. You can reach out anytime that you need to. I'm more than happy to talk to you about that in more detail. Seriously. Completely sleeping.
He was snoring.
He's a mess. Okay, let's see. Oh, I did not know that, Ian. I would have never thought that. The white shepherds that we came across all seem to have a slight temperament issues, but that could be situational. Yeah, rather than intrinsic. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my thing is always, you get out what you put in. Like if you show them bad behaviors and you allow that type of thing to go on, you allow them to be aggressive or you show them to be aggressive, that's the type of dog that they're going to be. Enzo and Lotus especially Lotus, could very easily be aggressive, 100%, no big deal. But they've never been shown to be like that, and so they're both very gentle and very sweet. So it's all about how you train them to be. Let's see. Yeah, and so back to Lovely, I'm gonna agree with Gordon's honest opinion here. Time. Yep, the more you do it, the longer you do it, the more consistent you are. It does get better over time.
Tim said enough time, Lotus could be potentially a service dog.
Yeah, so like is crazy of the situations we're dealing with Lotus and his reactiveness and stuff, like our actual trainer that we see, has even said with enough time, can you get me the charger? With enough time that Lotus could be a therapy dog. And like for me, I was like, that you're insane. Like there's no way. And he's like, oh yeah, 100%. So yeah, I mean, it really is about you have to be consistent in what you're doing, and the more time that goes on, it does get better if you're consistent with it. What age did you get them neutered, and was it total or vasectomy? So let me plug the charger up here. So through research that we have done, it's better to wait until they're about a year old, from what I understand, to get them neutered, because they need like that testosterone and the hormones. They need a certain amount of that to get what they need, and then it's fine after that. Because I know if you don't do it and you wait too long, then there's like kind of the opposite effect of that. So with Enzo, we waited until he was about 11 months old. Because I remember we did it right before we did training with him. And I think he was in that 11, 12-month range when we started training with him. So I believe he was about 11 months old when we did his. Now, Lotus was
11 months, but I think Enzo was like over a year.
No, Lotus was early, remember?
Yeah, but Enzo, I thought we waited a year at least.
Yeah, that's what it said, 11 or 12 months. Yeah. Lotus, we didn't wait as long with him because one of the things that we were trying to figure out with the reactiveness was it like once he got neutered that maybe that might get a little bit better. And so we neutered him a little bit earlier than we did with Enzo. But right around that year mark, I think is what's kind of suggested there. And it was total. Yeah. Yeah, so like back to kind of your situation, Lovely, like when you if that's something that you're going to go through with and kind of expose him to new people in a controlled environment and kind of socialize him a little bit better that way, make sure that you have little training treats with you, or like a favorite treat with you, and like have that person have those treats readily available, and then like that person, and then lots of positive praise like the entire time, like, you know, good boy or good girl, or, you know, whatever the situation is there. Lots of positive praise, lots of like favorite. We do like these little training treats that are meant for like an 8-week-old puppy, and our dogs still love them and they're huge. So like that's one of the things that we take to the vet with us when we go to the vet, and we give them to the vet, and the vet has like a handful of them, and just like because neither of ours like to go to the vet, she will lots of positive praise, and then she gives them those little tiny training treats that it won't make them sick if they have, you know, a few of them. So yeah, that's definitely good advice there. Yeah, Don, you're right. And that's kind of what everyone kind of keeps saying with the reactiveness is like the more he matures, the better that situation, especially with us having a handle on it, and working on it with it every day. That's what I keep hearing like from the trainer and stuff is kind of the older that he gets, the more that situation will mature a little bit more. Yeah, so that's a good point. Yeah, testicular cancer. That's what it is, Ian. Thank you. Yeah, if you leave them unneutered, that is one of the, and it's actually, I feel like, more common than you would think, which is why you shouldn't wait super long.
Is she hungry?
Okay, Switch. Thanks for watching. Lotus, you gonna eat dinner? No, not today. Both of ours regulate. So if they're not hungry, they don't have to eat, and they kind of get to make that choice on their own. German Shepherds are a really good breed for not overeating. So they are super good at self-regulating. So he might not be hungry right now, and if he doesn't want to eat, he doesn't have to. You guys about ready to go? We've been on here for 2 hours.
Well, we were a little late, but yeah.
Yeah. He's such a baby.
We answered that a little while ago, and the answer is we don't know. It's
a lot.
On a good month, it's at least $150 to $200.
I would have said closer to 300.
Assuming no vet visits, no.
Thanks, Dawn.
Groomers, no nothing.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, Maria.
Yeah, if you average out vet bills and everything else, then yeah.
Yeah, just on food alone, I would say $150 a month. We have 2 though. Now, if you only have 1, it might not be that much. But we buy a couple different foods that we buy 2 different dry foods that we mix together. One is salmon and the other one I believe is chicken. And so we mix those 2, and then they have a soft food that gets mixed into that combination of dry food. So that's just food alone. And then ours have 2 supplements that they take. One of them is once a day. The other one is twice a day. So you add that into the mix, and the supplements aren't very cheap. At least the one's not. And then like their treats and stuff like that. Yeah, it adds up quickly. I would say, you know, on food, like on just dietary stuff alone, $150 to $200 a month.
Plus, we have an FJ because of them.
Thank you, Lovely. Please reach out if you get in, you know, if you go to start socializing yours with, you know, new people and you need help or guidance or, you know, have questions or whatever. We're more than happy to help you. We deal with the same thing with Lotus, but not with people. Sometimes with people, but mostly with other dogs. So we're right there with you fighting that battle. And we're going to have to wash this cover now.
One time.
That was just
Lotus.
Just Lotus for not that many minutes.
And he just went there. He's going to eat dinner now.
Oh, thank you. We love that you guys subscribe and follow along with our story. Enzo, you want to come say bye? Oh, was that a trigger word for you? Bubba. Come here. Well, come here and come closer. I'm going to tell him bye-bye. Yeah. You empathizing? You brat. Oh, Cindy, that's awesome. Yeah, that's something that we did from really a really young age with Enzo, especially. Not Home Depot. Lowe's is closer to us, but yeah, I mean, same difference. Yeah, that's good. I mean, 10 months old that's a good age to start at. And I feel like the first time Enzo may have been like a little bit nervous, but I mean, other than that, like
first time
yeah, he did fantastic after that. Like we just kept doing it. And he can go in there and you would think that's like a second home or something now. Like he just thinks like, oh, this is my place. And Lotus, we've taken him a couple times. He does pretty good. I feel like we don't take him as much as we used to take Enzo. So Enzo's super used to it. Yeah. Yeah, the pet store is a good one. That's another one where we kind of, with Lotus and his situation, we will force him to go in PetSmart. And there's lots of other dogs and animals and people and stuff. And yeah, he's very uncomfortable, but hey, this is kind of the situation that we're dealing with. And that's just something that you're going to have to get used to. And so we expose him, to that situation. So yeah, I mean, for the most part, ours are pretty good in the pet store too. I think we did like a family day vlog recently. It's
I think it's called Family.
Yeah, I think it's called like Family Vlog or something on the channel. And in that video, we go into PetSmart and kind of shop around and get their weight and stuff like that. So yeah, that's good. Bye, Dawn. Hi, Reagan. I didn't even know you guys were on there. Is Joey with you?
Oh, I was like, I have no idea.
I miss you guys so much. It's been crazy this year. Oh, well, tell her I said hi and I miss her. I hope everything's going well with you. How is high school going? Lotus and Enzo get along just fine with the cat. It's never been an issue with Enzo, especially like he never even like recognized that we had a cat almost. He's just like, oh.
Yeah, no. Two still.
Yeah, when we got him, we had two cats when we got Enzo.
Rally has her claws though too, so she's not defenseless.
Yeah. And he never even like paid attention to the cats. Like he was just like, oh, whatever. Lotus, when we first got him, he would chase Rally around, but very, very quickly picked up on the fact like, oh, I'm not really supposed to chase the cat. She's going to whack me or whatever. They love each other. They get along with each other perfectly fine. No issues with the cat and the dogs at all. That's good, Reagan. I'm glad to hear that. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so whoever asked the question about Enzo getting along with the cat, that's them just like chilling. They sleep on the same bed. They don't care. Bye. Thanks for watching. we should probably go soon too.
Lotus is finally eating.
Yeah, Lotus is finally eating his dinner. Yeah, I'm afraid I'm gonna mispronounce it, so I just avoid saying it. I would think it would be like Giannis. But I just like I'm so weird about that. I don't want to screw it up because my first name's Nisha, and most people do not pronounce it correctly the first time that they say it. And so I know how that feels when it's not pronounced correctly. And so I just avoid saying it usually.
All your food? Eat it all?
Enzo's ready for bed, and Lotus is like, "Let me back on the couch, please."
Go on. Go on.
I think it would be pronounced Giannis, the first one. Giannis Senkil. But I don't know if that's correct or not. Wow, Lotus. All up in the bubble. Was that dinner delicious?
He should still Enzo eats for some reason.
Was that good? Yeah. Who's that pup? Who's that pup? Good. So I got the first name right. All right. Well, I think we're going to get off here and probably just relax for the rest of the night. Yeah, there's Will. He's monitoring the questions on his phone so that he can help me keep up with them. No problem. Thanks, John.
You guys say bye.
You guys gonna say bye-bye? They're like, no. Okay. All right, bye, guys.
See you guys.
Thanks for watching. You're welcome.